Tonight, we drift towards something so vast that light itself struggles to cross it. Its name is Alcyoneus, a single galaxy so impossibly large it stretches across distances the mind was never built to hold. You have seen galaxies before, scattered like spilled sugar across the dark, but this one is different. This one breaks the rules we thought the universe obeyed. Tonight, we travel slowly into the strange and beautiful story of the biggest galaxy ever found. If these quiet journeys help you rest, a like and a subscribe help others find this calm place too. And before you drift off, tell me softly, where are you listening from and what hour glows on your clock tonight? So let yourself settle now. There is nowhere else you need to be and nothing else you need to do. The day is behind you, all of it, the small worries and the long hours, and none of it needs to follow you here. Let your shoulders soften. Feel how they have been holding themselves up all day, quietly, without complaint, and let them lower now, just a little, and then a little more. Let the jaw loosen. So many of us hold the day inside the jaw without ever knowing it, and you can release it now, gently, letting the teeth part slightly, letting the face grow soft and still. Let your hands rest wherever they are. Open or curled, it does not matter. Let them grow heavy. Let the weight of them sink into the bed or the blanket or whatever holds you. And your breath. Let it slow. Not forced, not deepened on purpose, simply allowed to grow longer and quieter on its own, the way breath does when sleep is near. Breathe in softly and let it out, slower still. There is no hurry here. There is only this, the slow rise, the slow fall, the quiet space in between. Tonight, you do not have to understand everything. You do not have to remember anything. You can simply listen and let the words drift over you like a slow tide. And if you fall asleep before the end, that is not a failure. That is exactly what this is for. So breathe and soften, and let us begin to drift away from this room, away from this night, out towards something vast and very far away. Above you, beyond the ceiling, beyond the roof, beyond the thin blue shell of air that wraps the world, there is the dark. We call it the night sky, but the night sky is only the nearest edge of it. Beyond that edge, the dark goes on, further than the mind was ever built to follow. And it is not an empty dark. It is filled. It is filled with light, with worlds, with slow turning wheels of fire scattered across distances that have no bottom and no end. We are going there tonight. Slowly, gently. We are going to travel out into that dark, and we are going to find something that lives inside it, something so large that it changes what the word large is even able to mean. But we will get there slowly. There is no rush. Let us begin close to home with something you already know, even if you have never thought about it this way. You live on a small world, a round stone of water and air, turning slowly in the dark, warmed by a single star we call the Sunday. And that sun, bright as it is, enormous as it is only one star among many. If you have ever stood beneath a truly dark sky, far from the lights of any town, you will have seen them, the others, scattered overhead in their thousands, a fine dust of light spilled across the black. Every one of those points of light is a sun, some smaller than ours, many far larger, each one burning quietly, alone, across distances so wide that their light takes years to reach your eye. And all of those stars you can see, every single one, belong to the same great gathering, the same slow turning island, the same city of light. We call it a galaxy. A galaxy is not a thing you can hold in the mind easily, so let us go softly. Picture an island, not an island of stone in the sea, but an island of stars in the dark. A vast, slow gathering of suns, hundreds of billions of them, drawn together and held together by the gentle, patient pull of gravity. They do not sit still, they turn. The whole island turns, slowly, grandly, like a great wheel spinning in the deep, so slow that a single turn can take hundreds of millions of years. That is a galaxy, an island of light, a slow-turning city of suns, and the one we live in has a name. We call it the Milky Way. It is called that because of how it looks from inside. When you stand beneath that dark sky and you see a faint band of pale light stretching overhead, soft as spilled milk, hazy as breath on glass, you are looking at our own galaxy from within. You are looking edge on through the disk of it, through the massed light of all those distant suns blurred together by sheer number and distance. That pale river overhead is home. It is the city you live in, seen from one of its quiet outer streets. And it is large. It is so large that the word large begins to lose its footing here. Let us try to feel it, gently, just for a moment. Light is the fastest thing there is. Nothing in all the universe moves faster. In a single second, a beam of light could circle our whole world more than 7 times. In a single second. And yet that same light, that impossibly fast light, would need 100,000 years to cross from one side of our galaxy to the other. 100,000 years. Let that settle softly. The fastest thing that exists, crossing our home, and it would take longer than all of human history, longer than our species has had language, longer than we have walked upright beneath the stars. That is the width of the Milky Way. That is the size of home. And home holds so much. Hundreds of billions of stars, clouds of gas and dust drifting between them, glowing in soft colors, the nurseries where new suns are born, worlds beyond counting, most of which we will never see, all of it turning together, slowly, in the dark, held by gravity, bound into one great island of light. It is easy to think that something so vast must be the largest thing there is. It is easy to feel that 100,000 years of light must surely be near the edge of what the universe allows. But it is not. It is not even close. Because our galaxy, our enormous home, our slow-turning city of 100 billion suns, is only one. Only one island among many. When we send our finest telescopes out into the dark and let them stare into a patch of sky so small you could hide it behind a single grain of sand held at arm's length, they do not find emptiness, they find galaxies. Hundreds of them, thousands of them, each one its own island, its own city of suns, its own 100,000 years of light, all crowded into that one tiny window onto the dark. And the dark is full of such windows. In every direction, everywhere we look, there are galaxies. Not millions, not billions. The number we now believe lies scattered across the visible universe is so large that to say it aloud is almost meaningless. 2 trillion, perhaps more. 2 trillion islands of light, each one vast beyond imagining, each one turning slowly in its own quiet corner of the dark. Rest there for a moment. Let that softness wash over you. 2 trillion galaxies, and our enormous home, our Milky Way, is one of them. One island in a sea of 2 trillion islands. One grain of light on an endless dark shore. This is not meant to make you feel small. Let it do the opposite. Let it open something quiet and wide inside you. You are made of the same stuff as those distant suns. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the breath moving slowly in and out of you right now. All of it was forged inside stars, long ago, in galaxies that lived and died before our own world was ever born. You are not separate from this vastness. You are part of it. You are a small, warm piece of the universe, lying still in the dark, listening to the story of itself. So breathe and soften and drift a little deeper. Now here is where the wonder begins to turn, slowly, the way the galaxies themselves turn. We have these 2 trillion islands, and they are not all the same. Some are small, faint smudges of a few million stars, dim and quiet. Some are grand spirals like our own, with sweeping arms of light curling out from a glowing core. Some are vast, smooth ovals, ellipticals, swarms of old red suns gathered into great calm clouds, without any spiral at all. And among all these many shapes and sizes, there is a question that astronomers have asked, quietly, for as long as they have known that other galaxies exist. Which one is the largest? It is a simple question, a child's question, almost. Which is the biggest? And yet the answer, when it finally came, was so strange and so enormous that it seemed to break the very ruler we had been using to measure the sky. Most galaxies, you see, are smaller than ours, far smaller. The great majority of the 2 trillion are modest things, dim and small, holding only a tiny fraction of the stars our own Milky Way holds. Our galaxy, by the ordinary measure of the cosmos, is already a giant. To live inside the Milky Way is to live inside one of the larger islands in the sea. And yet somewhere out in that dark, far beyond our galaxy, far beyond the nearest islands around us, far beyond even the great clusters where galaxies gather in their hundreds and thousands, there is one single galaxy. And it is so large, so impossibly, so unreasonably large, that if you were to set it beside our own Milky Way, our enormous home, our 100,000 years of light, our city of 100 billion suns, our island so vast that the fastest thing in existence needs 1,000 centuries to cross it, you would barely be able to find us at all. Beside this one galaxy, our entire Milky Way would shrink to almost nothing, to a speck, to a single grain of sand on a vast and shadowed beach, to a faint mote of dust drifting in a great dark hall. That is where we are going tonight, out past the 2 trillion islands, out into the deep, to find the largest of them all. We are going to learn its name, and how it was found, and what it is made of, and why it grew to a size that even now, the people who study it cannot fully explain. We are going to stand, in our imagination, in the quiet presence of the biggest single galaxy ever discovered in all the known universe. But not yet. Not quite yet. For now, it is enough simply to know that it is out there, waiting in the dark, patient, silent, older than our world, larger than our wildest reaching. And we, small and warm and growing heavy with sleep, are drifting slowly toward it. So let your breath grow longer still. Let the room around you soften and fade. Let the dark behind your eyes become the dark of space, gentle and endless and kind. We have a long way to travel, and we will go slowly, the way the galaxies turn. Rest now, and let us drift onward, out toward the giant in the dark. Now let us drift back toward our own small world for a moment, gently, the way you might return to a familiar room before setting out again. Because the story of how we found this giant does not begin in the shane dark of distant space. It begins here, on Earth, in a quiet and unlikely place. It begins in a marsh. Picture it softly, a stretch of low, wet land in the north of the Netherlands, reed beds and shallow water, soft ground that gives a little beneath your feet, birds calling somewhere out across the flatness. A wide, pale sky, the kind that seems to go on forever in those low countries where the land lies close to the sea. It is a nature reserve, peaceful and green, the sort of place you might walk through on a slow afternoon without ever guessing that something extraordinary lives there. But spread across that marsh, low to the ground, there are antennas, thousands of them, simple, unremarkable shapes, scattered across the wet fields, easy to overlook. They do not turn or sweep the sky like the great white dishes you might imagine when you think of a telescope. They simply sit there, patient and still, listening. This is part of a telescope called LOFAR. It is not one instrument in one place. It is a great web of antennas, scattered not only across this Dutch reserve, but reaching out across much of Europe, all of them working together, all of them listening to the same faint signals from the sky and joining their patience into one enormous ear turned upward toward the dark. And here is something tender about that marsh. It was chosen in part for its silence, not the silence you hear with your ears, but a deeper, stranger silence, a radio silence. In that quiet reserve, the everyday hum of our modern world fades away. The signals that fill our cities, the chatter of phones and screens and machines, all of it grows faint there. It is a place where your smartphone would lose its way, where the noise of human life thins out, so that the antennas can hear the faintest whispers coming from far across the universe without our own restlessness drowning them out. Sit with that for a moment. A place built around stillness, a place where we deliberately turn down the noise of ourselves so that we might listen instead to the sky. And the sky, it turns out, has a great deal to say. We simply have to learn how to listen. When you look up at night, you see the universe in visible light, the light your eyes were made to catch, starlight, soft and white and gold. And for most of human history, that was all we had. The sky we could see was the only sky we knew. We thought, quite reasonably, that to look at the heavens was to see them. But visible light is only a sliver, only one thin band in a vast spectrum of light that stretches far beyond what the eye can catch. There is light with waves longer than red, stretching out into the warm, invisible glow we call infrared, and longer still into radio waves. There is light with waves shorter than violet, reaching into the ultraviolet, and shorter still into the fierce energies of X-rays and gamma rays. All of it is light. All of it is real. And almost all of it is completely invisible to us. Imagine standing in a great hall filled with music, but your ears could only catch a single note. You would hear that one note, clear and true, and you might believe you were hearing the whole song. And then, one day, someone hands you a way to hear the rest. Suddenly the hall fills with sound you never knew was there. Low notes rumbling beneath everything, high notes shimmering above, a whole symphony that was always playing all around you while you stood there hearing only one quiet tone. That is what radio astronomy did for us. It gave us a new way to listen to the sky, and when we turned these great patient ears toward the dark, the universe filled with things we had never seen. Things that give off almost no visible light at all. Things that would remain forever hidden from even our finest ordinary telescopes, invisible, silent, unseen, until we learned to catch the long, slow waves of radio light pouring out of them. And so there are objects out in the dark that you could never find by looking. You could point the sharpest eye in the world at exactly the right patch of sky and see nothing remarkable. Just a faint smudge, perhaps, or empty black. And yet, listen to that same patch in radio light, and it blooms. It opens like a flower in the dark. Vast structures appear, glowing, enormous, that were there all along, simply waiting in a kind of light our eyes could never hold. This is how the giant was found. Not by looking, by listening. The data came from that great web of antennas, from a sweeping survey of the northern sky. LOFAR had been quietly gathering its faint signals, mapping the radio universe across huge stretches of the heavens, building up a picture of the sky as it appears in this hidden light. And the picture it built was rich beyond anyone's expectation. At the Leiden Observatory, one of the oldest centers of astronomy in the world, a young astronomer named Martijn Oey and his colleagues began to comb through this ocean of data. And what they were searching for was a particular kind of object, a giant radio galaxy. Let us go softly here, because these objects are strange and beautiful, and we will return to them more deeply in time. For now, simply know this. There exist galaxies that pour out vast plumes of radio light, great glowing structures that reach far out into space, far beyond the galaxy itself. Most are large, some are very large, and the team at Leiden suspected that many more of them were hiding in the data than anyone had ever counted, too faint or too sprawling to have been noticed before. So they searched, patiently, through the maps of the radio sky, and the universe rewarded that patience in a way that is almost overwhelming to consider. They did not find a handful of these giants. They did not find dozens. Hidden in the data, waiting to be noticed, were thousands of them. More than 8,000 giant radio galaxies, vast glowing structures scattered across the sky, almost all of them previously unknown. 8,000 giants, hiding in plain sight, invisible until someone learned to listen in the right kind of light, and then took the time to look. Think of that softly. 8,000. A whole population of cosmic giants, drifting silently out there, unseen for all of human history, suddenly stepping out of the dark all at once. It is the kind of discovery that quietly resets what you believe the universe to be. The dark was never empty. It was simply full of things we had not yet learned to see. And among those 8,000, there was one. This is how it so often happens with the deepest discoveries. Not with alarms and shouting, not with a single dramatic moment of revelation, but quietly, by a kind of luck that only finds those who are patient enough to be looking. Somewhere in that great catalogue of giants, one structure stretched further than the others, further than seemed reasonable, further, it would turn out, than anything of its kind that had ever been recorded. It did not announce itself. It simply sat there in the data, a vast pair of glowing plumes reaching out across an almost unthinkable span of space, waiting for someone to measure it and realize what they were looking at. And when the measurement was made, when the true length of it was finally understood, it became clear that this quiet, unassuming entry in a long list of giants was the largest single galaxy ever found in all the known universe. Found not by chance alone, but by chance meeting patience, by the universe offering up a secret, and a few quiet people in an old observatory being ready to receive it. There is something gentle in that. The greatest things are not always seized. Sometimes they are simply, finally, noticed. And once you have found something so vast, so unprecedented, you must give it a name. For you cannot hold a thing in the mind without a name. A list of numbers and coordinates is enough to find it again in the sky, but it is not enough to love it, not enough to wonder at it. A thing this large deserves a name worthy of its size. And so they reach back, the way astronomers so often do, into the old stories, into myth, into the deep human memory of giants. They named it Alcyoneus. Let the name settle softly, Alcyoneus. It comes from the myths of ancient Greece, from the old tales of a time when the world was young and the gods were new. In those stories, Alcyoneus was a giant, one of the gigantes, the great race of giants born of the earth itself, and not a small giant among them, but one of the mightiest, a being of such enormous size and strength that he stood among the greatest of his kind, a figure who, in the old tellings, contended even with Heracles, the strongest of all the heroes. A giant who fought against the heroes and the gods, a being whose very nature was vastness. There could hardly be a more fitting name for the largest galaxy ever found. The ancient storytellers, gazing up at a sky they could only see in visible light, never knowing what truly waited in the dark, had already given us the perfect word, a name for something too large for the ordinary world, a name for a giant. And now that ancient name belongs to something the old storytellers could never have dreamed of. Not a figure of myth striding across a battlefield, but a true giant, real and silent, made of light and plasma and gravity, drifting in the deep dark 3 billion years away, older than our world, larger than our reaching. Alcyoneus, the giant in the dark, found not by looking, but by listening, hidden for all of time, and then, on a quiet day, in an old observatory, gently noticed at last. Let the name drift through you as you rest. There is something soothing in it, is there not? The idea that the universe keeps its giants quietly, patiently, waiting, that they do not demand to be seen, that they simply exist, vast and calm, until the moment we are finally ready to find them. You do not need to hold any of this tightly. Let the marsh fade now, the antennas, the maps of hidden light, the patient searchers in their old observatory. Let it all soften and drift away, the way the day has softened and drifted away from you. Keep only the name, if you keep anything at all, Alcyoneus, a giant sleeping in the deep, and let yourself sink a little further towards sleep alongside it. We have found our giant now. We know its name. In the quiet that follows, we will draw closer and begin to understand what it is truly made of, and how something so impossibly large could ever come to be. But that is for a little while from now. For this moment, simply breathe, simply rest, simply drift in the company of a giant whose name was waiting for it long before we ever knew it was there. Rest now. The giant is patient. It has waited billions of years. It will wait gently for us while we drift onward into the dark. Now, let us draw a little closer to the giant, slowly, the way you might approach something sleeping, careful not to disturb it. We have its name. We know it is the largest single galaxy ever found, and so the mind, naturally, begins to build a picture. Surely, you might think, a thing this large must be monstrous at its heart. Surely the center of the greatest galaxy in the known universe must be something extraordinary, something blazing and violent and unlike anything else, a core as vast and strange as the giant it commands. And here is the first surprise, the first quiet, beautiful surprise that Alcyoneus has to offer. The galaxy at the heart of it all is, in itself, rather ordinary. Let that settle. because it is one of the strangest and loveliest facts in this whole story. At the center of this impossibly large structure, where you might expect to find some unimaginable monster, there sits instead a fairly normal galaxy. Not a small one, no, but not a giant either. A galaxy of a kind that astronomers have seen many times before in many places across the sky. If you could somehow set it among other galaxies, without the vast glowing plumes that make it famous, you might pass right over it. You might never guess that this calm and ordinary island of stars was the source of the largest thing of its kind in all the known universe. It is what astronomers call an elliptical galaxy. Picture it gently, not a grand spiral like our own Milky Way, with sweeping arms of light curling out from a bright center. An elliptical is something softer, smoother, calmer, a great rounded swarm of stars, gathered into a vast glowing oval, like an enormous cloud of light slowly drifting in the dark. Its stars are mostly old, mostly red and gold, the warm colors of suns that have burned for a very long time. There is little of the bright blue fire of new star birth here. It is a settled place, a mature galaxy, an old city of old suns drifting quietly through space. And by the great measures of the cosmos, it is unremarkable. Its mass, the total weight of all its stars gathered together, is large by human reckoning, yes, but ordinary by the standards of galaxies. Astronomers have measured it and found nothing to set it apart. Its store of stars, its brightness, its quiet old age, all of it is the sort of thing you would expect from a perfectly typical elliptical galaxy. There are countless others much like it scattered across the universe, none of which have grown the vast plumes that make this one a giant. Sit with how strange that is. The largest single galaxy in the known universe is built around an ordinary heart. The vastness does not come from the galaxy being special. It comes from somewhere else, from something the galaxy does, rather than something the galaxy is. And to understand that, we must go to the very center, to the small dark heart at the core of this ordinary island of light. For at the center of this galaxy, as at the center of almost every large galaxy, including our own, there is a black hole. Let us approach this gently too, because the black hole is where the wonder truly begins. A black hole is a place where matter has been crushed so completely, packed so impossibly tight, that gravity around it grows fierce beyond imagining, so fierce that nothing can escape it, not even light itself. A black hole is, in a sense, a piece of the universe that has folded in upon itself a darkness so deep that no light ever climbs back out of it. That is why we cannot see it directly. It gives off no light of its own. It is a perfect, silent dark, sitting at the center of all that starlight. And the black hole at the heart of Alcyoneus is large. It holds a mass of around 400 million times the mass of our Sunday. 400 million suns crushed into a single dark point at the center of the galaxy. The number is so large it slides past the mind without catching. So let us slow it and feel it. Our own sun is enormous. You could fit more than 1 million Earths inside it. It is so vast and so heavy that it holds every planet in our solar system in its grip across billions of miles of empty space, swinging worlds around it like stones on invisible threads. That single sun is almost beyond imagining. And now gather 400 million of them. 400 million suns, every one of them a furnace, every one of them a giant, and crush them all together into a darkness smaller than you might believe. That is the black hole at the center of this galaxy. And yet, even this is not so unusual. Here is the second quiet surprise. Even this great black hole, 400 million suns of crushed and silent dark, is ordinary by cosmic standards. Many galaxies hold black holes as large or larger. Our own Milky Way holds one smaller than this, but the same kind of thing. The black hole at the heart of Alcyoneus is not a record breaker. It is not a monster among monsters. It is simply a large black hole at the center of an ordinary galaxy. Nothing about it, on its own, should produce the largest structure in the known universe. And so the mystery only deepens and grows more beautiful. An ordinary galaxy, an ordinary black hole, and from these ordinary things, somehow, the universe has built a giant. How? Here is how. And this is where the dark heart begins, very gently, to breathe. A black hole does not always sit silent and still. Sometimes matter falls toward it. Gas, dust, the scattered stuff of the galaxy, drawn inward by that fierce gravity. And as this matter falls, it does not simply drop straight in. It begins to swirl. It gathers into a great spinning disk around the black hole, turning faster and faster as it spirals inward, like water circling a drain, but on a scale beyond all imagining. And as it spins, this falling matter grows unimaginably hot. It is squeezed and stretched and heated until it glows fiercely, until it is no longer simple gas, but a searing, churning storm of energy circling the dark. And here is the wonder. As all this matter crowds and falls and burns around the black hole does not swallow all of it. The process is so violent, so charged with energy, that some of that energy is flung back out. Not gently, not slowly, but in two great beams fired from the very center of the galaxy in opposite directions, straight out from the spinning disk, away into space. Two jets. Two enormous beams of matter and energy, launched from the heart of the galaxy at speeds approaching the speed of light itself. They pour out from the dark center, one reaching up, one reaching down, in perfect opposition, like two arms thrown wide into the dark. They are made of plasma, the hot charged matter that is neither quite solid, nor liquid, nor ordinary gas, glowing and crackling with energy, streaming outward across distances the mind can hardly hold. Picture it softly now, an ordinary galaxy, a calm old oval of red and gold stars drifting in the dark, and from its very center, from the silent black heart hidden deep within all that starlight, two vast beams of glowing plasma reaching out into the void, further and further, far beyond the edge of the galaxy itself, far beyond where any star could carry them. This is the breath of the giant. The galaxy itself is ordinary, but it breathes. From its dark center it breathes out these two great plumes of light, and those plumes are what make it a giant. And they do not simply fade as they travel. As the jets reach far out into space, far beyond the stars of the galaxy, they begin to slow, to spread, to billow outward. They swell into enormous clouds at their ends. Vast, soft structures of glowing plasma, like smoke unfurling in still water, like breath fogging slowly outward on a cold and silent night. These swollen clouds are called lobes. Two great lobes, one at the end of each jet, reaching out on opposite sides of the galaxy into the deep dark between the stars. And these lobes, these vast glowing clouds, are where the size of Alcyoneus truly lives. The galaxy at the center is ordinary in scale, but the lobes reach out to a span so enormous that it crowns this one galaxy the largest of its kind ever found. The breath of the giant stretches further than the giant. The plumes are larger than the lungs that made them. This is why Alcyoneus could never be seen with ordinary eyes, never caught in ordinary visible light. For these jets and lobes do not shine the way stars shine. They glow in radio light, that hidden, long, slow light our eyes can never hold. As the charged particles in the plasma race along, caught and bent by faint magnetic fields woven through the structure, they sing out in radio waves, a steady glow pouring across millions of light years of space. To the naked eye, to the finest visible telescope, there would be little to see, but to those patient antennas listening in the right kind of light, the whole vast structure blooms into view. Two great glowing plumes reaching out from a quiet central galaxy, lighting up the dark in a color no human eye has ever seen. Astronomers have a way of describing galaxies like this one, a quiet classification for the shape of what they breathe out. In Alcyoneus, the glow is not brightest at the center, near the galaxy. It is brightest far out, at the very ends, out at the edges of those great lobes. The plumes carry their brightest light to their furthest reaches, glowing most fiercely at the distant tips, where the jets finally meet the thin matter drifting in the space between galaxies and pile up into bright glowing patches at the very end of their long journey outward. There is something almost tender in that image. A galaxy whose light is brightest not at its heart, but at its furthest edges, as if it pours its energy outward, all the way out, saving its brightest glow for the very ends of its reach, far from home, out in the deep dark, where the jets finally come to rest. Let us gather the picture now, softly, before we let it drift. At the center, an ordinary galaxy, a calm old oval of red and gold suns, the kind the universe has made countless times. At its heart, hidden in all that starlight, an ordinary black hole, 400 million suns of silent dark, and around that black hole, a storm of falling matter, glowing and spinning and burning, flinging two great jets of plasma out into the void. Those jets, reaching far beyond the galaxy, swelling into vast lobes that glow in radio light, brightest at their furthest tips. And the whole of it, from one glowing end to the other, reaching across a span so enormous that this single quiet galaxy becomes the largest ever found. An ordinary heart, an extraordinary breath. There is a gentle lesson hidden in that, if you wish to take one with you into sleep. That vastness does not always come from being vast. That something quite ordinary, in the right place, doing the one thing it does, patiently, for a very long time, can reach out into the dark far further than anyone would ever guess. The galaxy did not have to be a giant to make a giant. It only had to breathe, steadily, into the silence, across more time than we can hold. You do not need to keep any of this. Let the jets soften. Let the lobes drift apart like smoke on still water. Let the spinning disk slow, and the falling matter grow quiet, and the dark heart fall silent again at the center of its ordinary galaxy. Keep only the gentlest image, if you keep anything at all, an ordinary thing in the quiet dark, breathing out something vast and luminous, far larger than itself. And as you rest, let your own breath be that gentle, in and out, slow and soft, reaching quietly into the dark. We understand now what the giant is made of. We have stood close to its dark heart and watched it breathe. In a little while, we will draw back, far back, and try at last to feel the true size of what those quiet plumes have made. But not yet. For now, simply rest, simply breathe, in and out, like a galaxy in the dark, pouring something gentle into the silence. Rest now. The giant breathes on, patiently, while you drift deeper towards sleep. And now we come to the heart of it, to the question we have been drifting towards since the very beginning of this slow journey into the dark. How large is the giant? How large, truly, is the largest single galaxy in all the known universe? Let us not rush toward the number. Let us approach it the way you would approach the edge of something vast in the dark, slowly, with your hand out, feeling your way forward. For the number itself is easy to say and almost impossible to feel, and our work tonight is not to say it, but to feel it, softly, as we drift. Numbers this large slip through the mind, like water through open fingers, so we will hold this one carefully. We will turn it over and look at it from many sides, until the size of it begins to settle into something you can almost touch with your own hands. From one glowing end to the other, from the bright tip of one great lobe, across the quiet central galaxy, all the way out to the tip of the lobe on the far side, Alcyoneus stretches about 16 million light-years. In the language of astronomers, that is roughly 5 megaparsecs, a unit so large it is used only for the widest gulfs in the cosmos. But the numbers and the names are only handles. What matters is the feeling beneath them. 16 million light-years. The words pass so easily. 3 small words, and they slide right by, the way large numbers always do. So let us slow down and gather what they truly mean, gently, piece by piece, until the size of it begins to settle into something real. We must begin with a single light year, for it is the brick from which all of this is built. A light year is not a measure of time, though it sounds as though it should be. It is a measure of distance. It is the distance that light travels in one full year. And light, remember, is the fastest thing there is. Nothing in all the universe moves more swiftly. In a single second, a beam of light could circle our whole world more than 7 times. In a single second, not 7 times in a long afternoon, but 7 times in the space of one slow heartbeat. And so in 1 year, traveling at that impossible speed without ever slowing, without ever resting, light crosses a distance so vast that we needed a whole new word for it. That distance is 1 light year, nearly 6 trillion miles. A single light year is already further than the mind can truly hold, and Alcyoneus is 16 million of them, laid end to end. Let that sit softly for a moment. 16 million light years. Take the unthinkable distance that light travels in a single year, that nearly 6 trillion miles, and stretch it out, again and again and again, 16 million times over. That is the span of this one galaxy. That is the length of the giant, lying quiet in the dark, glowing in a light no human eye has ever seen. It does not help to simply pile the zeros higher. The mind cannot climb a number like that. There is no ladder long enough. So let us translate it instead into something we already know, into something we have already held together tonight. You remember our home, the Milky Way, our own galaxy, our slow-turning city of 100 billion suns. We said, near the beginning, that it was so vast that light itself, the fastest thing there is, would need 100,000 years to cross from one side of it to the other. We held that earlier and felt how enormous it was. 100,000 years of light just to span our home, the fastest thing in existence, crossing our galaxy, taking longer than all of human history to do it. Now, take our home, that whole vast galaxy, and lay it down gently in the dark, and then lay another beside it, edge touching edge, and then another, and keep laying them down, one Milky Way after another, in a long glowing chain, stretching out into the void. How many of our enormous home galaxies do you suppose you would need to lay end to end before you finally spanned the length of Alcyoneus, before that chain of galaxies reached from one of its glowing lobes to the other? Around 100 Milky Ways, laid side by side, each one a city of 100 billion suns, each one 100,000 years of light across, all of them lined up in a great glowing chain stretching across the dark. That is the length of this single giant, not one galaxy beside another galaxy, but one galaxy as long as 100 of ours laid in a row. Stay there a moment, in that image, before it drifts away. 100 of our home galaxies, the whole vast Milky Way, the city you live in, repeated 100 times over, laid out in a line, just to reach from one end of Alcyoneus to the other. And it is one thing, one single galaxy, one structure, breathing out a span so long that our entire home, multiplied 100-fold, would only just stretch across it. We are not comparing a galaxy to 100 galaxies. We are comparing the breadth of one galaxy to 100 whole galaxies laid end to end. The mind leans against that and feels itself grow quiet. Or come at it another way, softer still, for there are many doors into a thing this large, and each one shows it from a gentler angle. We have spoken of light as the great traveler, the swift one, the fastest thing there is. Imagine then a single beam of light setting out from one end of Alcyoneus, from the bright glowing tip of one far lobe, and beginning its long journey across the length of the giant toward the other end. It travels at the greatest speed the universe allows. It never slows, it never tires, it never rests, not for an instant. It pours across the dark at the very limit of what is possible, the absolute fastest that anything can ever move. How long would that beam of light need to cross from one end of this single galaxy to the other? Over 16 million years. The fastest thing in all of existence setting out across this one galaxy would travel for more than 16 million years before it reached the far side. 16 million years of unbroken flight, never pausing, never slowing, simply to cross from one end of the giant to the other, within a single galaxy, within one object in the sky. Let us hold that against ourselves, gently, just to feel the shape of it. 16 million years ago, there were no human beings anywhere on the earth. Our kind did not exist. Our distant ancestors were small and quiet creatures in a world that would not know us for ages yet. The continents sat in different places than they sit now. The shapes of the coastlines were different. The world was, in many ways, a different world. And in all the long time since then, across all those 16 million years of life rising and falling and changing on our small planet, a single beam of light would only just now be finishing its journey across this one galaxy. It would have set out before we were anything at all, before there was anyone to watch it go, and it would arrive at the far side only now. That is the size of the thing we are resting beside tonight. That is the giant lying quiet in the dark beyond your closed and softening eyes. And here is what makes it tender, rather than overwhelming. This giant did not always stand alone in our imagination. There was a galaxy before it, one we long believed to be among the very largest things in the universe, a famous giant in its own right. It is called IC 1101. For a long time, when people asked which galaxy was the biggest, this was the name they reached for. It is a vast elliptical galaxy, an enormous smooth swarm of stars, far larger than our own Milky Way, so large that for many years it stood near the very top of every list anyone made. A true cosmic giant, by any honest measure. To compare our Milky Way to IC 1101 was already to feel small. It was already a giant among giants. and Alcyoneus dwarfs it. Set them side by side in the dark, these two great things, and the older giant is left far behind. Measured from end to end, Alcyoneus reaches across a span several times greater than that earlier giant. The galaxy we once pointed to as one of the largest objects in all the universe becomes, beside Alcyoneus, simply another large thing among large things. The giant we knew is quietly overtaken by a giant we never imagined could exist. And that is how this story keeps unfolding, again and again. Every time we believe we have finally found the edge of large, every time we think we have reached the upper limit of what the universe is willing to build, the dark reaches a little further and shows us something larger still. So we have the size now. We have felt it, as much as it can be felt by a mind like ours. 100 Milky Ways laid end to end, 16 million years of light from one side to the other. A single galaxy larger than the largest we ever knew, larger than the giant we once thought stood at the very top. Rest there for a moment, in the sheer impossible width of it. Let it be vast around you, like the dark of the room, like the dark of space, gentle and endless, and somehow kind. But size is only half of the wonder tonight, for there is another dimension to this giant, one we have not yet touched, and it is perhaps the strangest and most beautiful of all. The giant is not only vast in space, it is vast in time, because Alcyoneus is far away, very far away. It lies roughly 3 billion light years from our small world, and here we must remember, gently, what a light year truly is. It is a distance, yes, but because light takes time to cross it, distance and time become woven together when we look out into the dark. To look far out into space is always to look far back into time. There is no way to separate the two. The further away a thing is, the older the light we see from it. And so the deeper into the past we are looking when we find it. When you see the giant, you are not seeing it as it is now. You are seeing the light that left it long ago, light that has been traveling toward us, across the empty dark, all this time. And that light has been traveling for nearly 3 billion years. Sit with that softly, here in the dark, as you grow heavy and warm with the nearness of sleep. The light that entered those patient antennas on the quiet Dutch marsh, the light that revealed this giant to us at last, set out from Alcyoneus nearly 3 billion years ago. It has been crossing the void ever since. Steadily, silently, faithfully. While everything on our world slowly unfolded, that light was already on its way, already pouring through the dark toward a planet that could not yet receive it. 3 billion years ago, our Earth was young. The world was still forming itself into the world we know. There were no plants upon the land, no animals walking beneath the sky, no forests, no birdsong, no footprints in the soft ground. The Earth was a young and quiet place of ocean and bare stone, its life only just beginning, simple and small and slow, hidden away in the warm dark of ancient seas. The continents we know had not yet drifted into their familiar shapes. The sky held no eyes to look up at it, no one to wonder what the lights above might be. And in that ancient time, when our world was still finding itself, when life was barely a whisper in the early oceans, the light we see tonight was already leaving the giant, already beginning its long and patient journey toward a planet that did not yet hold anyone to receive it. So when we look at Alcyoneus, we are not only looking at the largest galaxy in the known universe, we are looking deep into the past. We are seeing a giant as it was when our own world was still young, still forming, still empty of everything we have ever known or loved. The image that reaches us is an ancient one, a portrait sent across nearly 3 billion years of darkness, arriving only now, at last, to be gently received in a quiet room by a mind drifting softly towards sleep. Is it not a strange and wonderful thing to look out into the dark and find that you are looking backward through time, that the further you reach into space, the deeper into the past you see, that the giant resting before your eyes is not the giant as it is, but the giant as it was, an old light, a memory of light, carried faithfully across the void for nearly 3 billion years, just to arrive here, in this quiet moment, beside you. We cannot even know what it looks like now. The light of its present, whatever the giant is doing in this very moment, has not reached us yet, and will not reach us for ages still to come, long after we are gone, long after everyone who lives tonight has passed gently into the same dark. We see only its distant past. We are companions, you and the giant, separated not only by an unthinkable distance, but by an unthinkable depth of time. And yet here, tonight, you are gently joined, the ancient light of the largest galaxy ever found, arriving softly in the dark beside you, as though it had traveled all this way, all those billions of years, simply to keep you company as you fall asleep. Let that quiet vertigo settle over you, not as fear, but as wonder. Something unthinkably large, and unthinkably old, and unthinkably far, and yet present with you now, here, in this room, in this very breath. The vastness does not push you away. It does not make you small. It holds you. You are a small, warm point of life, lying still in the dark, receiving the ancient light of a giant, and that is a kind of closeness that has nothing at all to do with distance. How far that light has come just to reach you, how long it has traveled, across how much empty dark, only to arrive in this room, on this night, at this hour. Does it not feel, somehow, like a gift? An ancient light, older than the forests, older than the animals, older than the shapes of the continents, finishing its long journey here, now, in the quiet, as you let yourself grow heavy and still. You do not need to carry the numbers with you into sleep. Let them go now, softly. Let go of the millions and the billions, the light years and the megaparsecs, the 100 Milky Ways and the 16 million years. They have done their gentle work. They have shown you, as much as anything can show you, the size and age of the giant. Now let them drift away, like everything else, from the long day behind you. Keep only the feeling, if you keep anything at all, the feeling of resting beside something vast and ancient and calm, something so large that light itself needs 16 million years to cross it, something so far away that its light has traveled 3 billion years just to reach your eyes, something that was already old and glowing in the dark when our own world was young and forming and quiet. And here you are, small and warm and growing heavy with sleep, breathing slowly in the dark, held gently in the quiet company of a giant. We have felt its size now, as much as it can be felt. We have stood close to its ordinary heart and watched it breathe. We have looked backward through time into its ancient light. And, in a little while, we will ask the last and softest question of all. How could such a thing ever come to be? Why did this one ordinary galaxy, with its ordinary heart, grow so impossibly, so unreasonably large, when so many others like it never did? But that question can wait. It is patient, like the giant itself. For now, there is nothing you need to wonder, and nothing you need to hold. For now, simply rest. Simply lie still in the ancient light and let it hold you, and let yourself sink slowly, gently, deeper towards sleep. Rest now. The giant is vast and old and very far away, and yet tonight it is here with you in the dark, and that, for now, is enough. And so we come, at last, to the softest question of all, not what the giant is, for we have held that now, turned it over gently in our hands, but how? How could such a thing ever come to be? How did this one quiet galaxy, with its ordinary heart and its ordinary black hole, grow so impossibly, so unreasonably large, when so many others, so very like it, never did? And here is the gentlest truth of the whole story, the one to carry with you into sleep. We do not entirely know. Let that settle softly, without any sense of disappointment. The people who found Alcyoneus, the patient searchers in the old observatory, the astronomers who measured its vast plumes and understood at last what they had found, they will tell you the same thing, openly and without shame. They do not fully understand how it grew so large. It remains a mystery. The largest single galaxy ever discovered is also, in its own way, one of the quietest puzzles in the sky. But do not hear that as a failure. Hear it as an open door. There is a kind of person who finds an unanswered question troubling, who feels the not knowing as a weight, a thing that ought to be solved and put away. And there is another kind of person, perhaps the kind drifting towards sleep right now, who finds something deeply restful in mystery, who feels the not knowing as a kind of spaciousness, as a window left open onto the dark with a cool breeze drifting through it. We do not have to understand everything tonight. We do not have to solve the giant. We can simply rest beside the question and let it be beautiful, and let it be unanswered, and let that be enough. For the question is not empty. We are not lost in the dark with no light at all. The astronomers have an idea, a gentle and lovely idea, and though it is not a final answer, it points somewhere true. And the idea is this: perhaps it is not only what the galaxy does that made it a giant, perhaps it is also where it lives. Let us go softly into that thought, for it is a tender one. We saw earlier how the giant breathes, how its dark heart flings out two great jets of plasma into the void, jets that swell into vast glowing lobes far beyond the galaxy itself. Many galaxies do this. Many galaxies breathe out jets in just this way, and yet most of them never grow plumes anywhere near the size of these. So the question becomes, what is different here? Why did these particular jets reach so much further than almost all the others? And the gentle idea is that the jets of Alcyoneus had room, that they were breathed out into an unusually empty place, into a quiet, thin, low region of space where there was very little to push back against them, very little to slow them, very little to stop them spreading outward and outward into the dark. To understand why that matters, we must remember that the space between the galaxies is not truly empty. It looks empty. To our eyes, it is perfect black, perfect nothing, but it is not nothing. Drifting through the great gulfs between galaxies, there is a faint and tenuous matter, a thin haze of gas so sparse it is thinner than the finest mist, thinner than anything we could call empty here on Earth, and yet there, present, scattered through the dark. And when a galaxy breathes out its jets, those jets must push their way through this thin, drifting matter. They press outward against it, and it presses gently back, and slowly, over vast distances, it can hold the jets in check, slow their spreading, draw a quiet boundary around how far they can reach. But if a galaxy happens to sit in a place where that thin matter is even thinner than usual, in a place that is emptier, quieter, more open than the spaces around it. Then the jets meet far less resistance. They can spread outward more freely. They can reach further into the dark before anything slows them, billowing out into those enormous lobes across distances that anywhere else would never have been possible. The breath of the giant could travel so far, perhaps, simply because it was breathed into an unusually open sky. Is that not a tender thought? That the largest galaxy in the known universe may be a giant, not only because of what it is, but because of where it found itself, because it happened to live in a quiet, open, spacious place, where there was room to reach, as though the giant grew so large in part because the dark around it was gentle enough to let it. There is something almost human in that, if you wish to take it gently into sleep. How much of what any of us becomes depends not only on what we carry inside us, but on the space we are given, on whether the world around us pushes back hard or opens softly and lets us reach. The giant had an ordinary heart, but it had an extraordinary openness around it. And into that openness, patiently, over unimaginable spans of time, it reached and became the largest of its kind. Now let us widen the frame once more, slowly, the way we have widened it again and again tonight. For there is a greater pattern here, and it is one of the most beautiful things we have ever learned about the universe. When we look out at the cosmos on the very largest scales, far larger even than a single giant galaxy, we find that the galaxies are not scattered evenly through space. They are not sprinkled about at random, like sand thrown across a floor. Instead, they gather. They draw together along great threads and ridges, vast luminous filaments of galaxies strung across the dark, like dew gathered along the strands of an enormous web. And between these threads lie the voids, immense, quiet, nearly empty regions of space, great dark hollows where there is very little at all, stretching across distances that make even Alcyoneus seem small. This is what astronomers call the cosmic web, and it is, perhaps, the largest structure there is. Picture it softly as you drift. Threads of light woven across the entire universe, with galaxies strung along them like droplets along a spider's silk. And between the threads, vast dark spaces, the voids, hollow and quiet and almost empty. The whole universe, on its grandest scale, looks like a great cosmic web, a delicate, luminous network threaded through the endless dark, far too large for any mind to hold, and yet real, and there, surrounding us in every direction. And Alcyoneus lives within this web. It is woven into it, a single luminous point along one of those great threads, embedded in a filament of the cosmic web, with the quiet voids opening out nearby. And this is part of why it matters so much to the astronomers, why it is more than simply a record to be noted and set aside. Its enormous jets, reaching so far out into the thin matter between the galaxies, can act almost like a probe, like a long, gentle finger stretched out into the dark, feeling the faint substance of the space between the threads. By studying how its plumes spread and glow, we may learn something about the cosmic web itself, about the thin drifting matter in the voids, about the great delicate structure that holds the whole universe in its quiet pattern. So the giant is not only a wonder in itself, it is a kind of lantern hung along one thread of the cosmic web, helping us to see, faintly, the shape of the web around it. The largest galaxy we have found may help us understand the largest structure there is. The very thing that makes it strange, its impossible reach into the open dark, is the very thing that lets it teach us about that dark. And now, gently, one last turn in the story, and it is a humbling and lovely one. When Alcyoneus was found, it was the largest single galaxy known, the largest structure of its kind ever discovered, and for a time it held that crown alone. But the universe, as we have seen again and again tonight, does not stop at our records. It does not pause to let us catch our breath. Since Alcyoneus was found, astronomers, listening still in that hidden radio light, searching still through their great maps of the sky, have found other giant radio galaxies, reaching even further into the dark, plumes stretching even longer than these. The crown has already passed onward to giants larger still, and let us hold that not as disappointment, but as wonder. For what does it tell us? That no sooner do we find the largest thing than we find something larger. It tells us, gently, that we have not reached the edge, that there is no edge in sight, that every time we believe we have finally found the biggest, the furthest, the most, the universe quietly reaches past it and shows us more. The records are not endings, they are doorways. Each giant we find is not the last giant, but a sign that there are larger giants still, waiting in the dark, patient, unhurried, simply existing until the day we are ready to find them too. There is such peace in that. If you let it settle over you, we will never run out of wonder. We will never come to the final fact, close the last book, and find that there is nothing more to marvel at. The universe is larger than our reaching and stranger than our imagining, and it will go on being so, no matter how far we look. Alcyoneus held its record and then passed it on, and somewhere out there a greater giant holds it now, and one day that one too will pass it onward, and the wonder will simply continue, gently, endlessly, with no final edge. So, we do not need to grasp at the giant. We do not need to make it the biggest forever, to pin it down, to win some final answer from the sky. We can let it be what it is, a magnificent, mysterious thing, found in the dark by patient people, an ordinary galaxy that grew impossibly large in an open and gentle place, woven into the great cosmic web, glowing in a light no eye can see, teaching us softly about the structure of everything, and not the last of its kind, not the largest forever, simply one giant among giants in a universe that never stops unfolding. Let that be a comfort to you now, here in the dark, the not knowing, the open question, the sense that there is always more, that the wonder has no bottom and no end. You do not have to understand the giant tonight. The astronomers themselves do not fully understand it. And yet there it is, real and vast and glowing, 3 billion years away, woven into the web of the cosmos, mysterious and beautiful, and entirely at peace with being not yet understood. Perhaps that is the gentlest lesson the giant has to offer as you drift towards sleep, that it is all right not to have all the answers, that a question can be a soft place to rest rather than a problem to solve, that the largest, oldest, most distant things can hold their mysteries quietly, without anxiety, without hurry, simply being what they are in the patient dark, and trusting that understanding will come, slowly, in time, or perhaps will not come at all, and that this too is all right. The universe is in no rush. The giant is in no rush. It has reached across 16 million light years, over spans of time we cannot hold, and it does not need us to explain it. It only is. Vast and calm and patient and unhurried, woven into a web of light larger than imagination, one luminous thread among countless threads, in a dark that goes on further than anyone will ever see. And you, small and warm and growing heavy with sleep, are woven into that same universe, made of the same ancient matter, resting beneath the same endless dark. You do not need to solve anything tonight. You do not need to reach the edge of anything. You can simply rest, like the giant rests, calm and unhurried in the patient dark, holding your own quiet mysteries gently, trusting that you do not need to understand everything to belong here. Let the questions stay open, softly, like windows onto the night. Let the giant keep its mystery. Let the universe go on, reaching past every edge we find, forever, without ever troubling your rest. We have asked how the giant came to be, and found a gentle idea, and a deeper mystery, and a peace within the not knowing. In a little while, we will gather the whole journey together, softly, and let it drift, and let you drift along with it, down into sleep at last. But for now, simply rest. Rest in the open question. Rest in the unfinished wonder. Rest beside the giant, woven with you into the same vast and patient dark. Rest now. There is nothing to solve. There is only the quiet and the wonder and the slow, soft drift toward sleep. Let us stay here a while, inside the web. We do not need to travel further tonight. We have reached far enough. So, let us simply rest here, woven into the great cosmic web, and look slowly around us at the strange and beautiful structure that holds everything we have ever known. Remember the shape of it. The galaxies do not drift through space at random, scattered like sand thrown carelessly across a floor. They gather. They draw together along great glowing threads, vast luminous filaments strung across the dark, like dew gathered along the strands of an enormous web. And between those threads lie the voids, the great dark hollows, the immense quiet spaces where there is almost nothing at all, threads of light and hollows of dark. That is the shape of the universe on its very largest scale, a web, a delicate, glowing, endless web, threaded through the night. Let that image settle softly around you as you rest. Threads of galaxies, woven across all of space, and between them the voids, opening wide and dark and quiet. The whole universe, a great cosmic web, holding everything in its gentle pattern. Tonight, let us turn our attention to the voids, to the hollows, to the great dark spaces between the threads, for there is a kind of beauty there that we so often overlook. When we think of the universe, we tend to think of the bright things, the stars, the galaxies, the glowing threads where the light gathers. We think of the fullness, the crowded, shining places, and it is easy to imagine that these bright things are most of what there is, but they are not. They are only the thin, glowing edges of a far larger dark. Most of the universe, by far, is not the threads. Most of the universe is the hollows, the voids, the vast, quiet spaces in between. Picture one of these voids, gently, an immense region of space, so large that even our giant, even Alcyoneus, would be a small thing within it, and almost empty. Stretching on and on in every direction, dark and silent and still. If you could somehow stand at the heart of one of these voids and look around you, you would see almost nothing near at all. Only the faint, distant glow of the threads, far away on every side, like the lights of distant shores seen across a vast and lightless sea. Around you, in every direction, would be a stillness larger than anything we can hold. And here is the gentle turn. It would be easy to call such a place empty, to call it nothing, to feel that the voids are simply absence, the parts of the universe where there is nothing to see and nothing to find. But let us not call it that tonight. Let us look at the emptiness differently. Let us see it not as absence, but as space, as openness, as a vast and restful kind of fullness, a fullness made of room. For there is something deeply peaceful about that much openness, that much quiet, that much unhurried dark. The voids are not anxious places. They are not crowded or restless or full of noise. They are the most spacious places that exist. They are great, calm hollows of stillness, opening wide across the universe, asking nothing, holding nothing tightly, simply being open, simply being quiet, simply being room. Is there not something restful in that? The idea that most of everything is open space, that the universe is mostly room, that the bright crowded threads are the exception, and the great calm hollows are the rule. We so often feel that we must fill our lives, fill our hours, fill every quiet space with something, and yet the universe itself is mostly open, mostly spacious, mostly quiet dark, holding its few bright threads gently within an immensity of room. Let your own mind grow that open now, as you rest, as spacious as a void, as quiet, as unhurried. You do not have to fill this moment with anything. You can let it be open and dark and restful, the way the great hollows of the universe are open and dark and restful. There is room here, so much room. Let yourself rest in it. But here is the next gentle truth, and it is one of the loveliest of all. Even the voids are not truly empty. We call them empty. We call them hollows. And by the standards of anything we know on Earth, they are emptier than we can imagine, emptier than the finest vacuum we could ever make. And yet, drifting through even these great dark hollows, there is something, a faint and tenuous matter, a thin haze of gas, scattered through the dark, so sparse that it is almost nothing, and yet not quite nothing. Spread out across the voids, drifting between the threads, there is a delicate web of gas, the thinnest mist imaginable, a faint substance woven through even the emptiest dark. It is so thin that it is hard to find at all, so sparse that for a long time we could barely detect it. A handful of particles drifting across spaces so vast that, gathered together, they would still seem like almost nothing. And yet it is there. The dark is not truly empty. Even the great hollows, the immense quiet voids, hold within them this faint and patient haze, this thinnest of mists, this delicate web of matter spread across the universe. There is something tender in that, is there not? That even the emptiest places are not truly empty. That even in the deepest, darkest, most spacious hollows of the universe, there is still something present, still a faint substance, drifting quietly through the dark. The universe leaves nothing entirely alone. Even its loneliest spaces are gently held by this thin and patient web of matter, woven through everything, present even where there seems to be nothing at all. And this faint web, this thin drifting matter between the galaxies, is exactly what the giant reaches into. Remember the plumes of Alcyoneus, the great glowing lobes breathed out from its ordinary heart, reaching far beyond the galaxy itself, out into the dark between the threads. Those plumes do not reach into nothing. They reach into this, into the thin, drifting haze, into the faint web of gas that fills even the emptiest spaces. The giant breathes out its great lobes, and they press gently into this delicate mist, and they feel it, and they are shaped by it, and they glow against it in the dark. And this is why the giant is more than a wonder. This is why it matters so much to the patient people who found it, for its great plumes, reaching so far out into the thin matter between the galaxies, act almost like a soft probe of the hidden dark. like a long, gentle hand stretched out into the void, feeling the faint substance there. By studying how the plumes spread, how they glow, how they billow and slow and shape themselves against the thin, drifting haze, we may begin to feel, faintly, the texture of the emptiness itself. We may begin to learn about the delicate web of matter that fills even the voids, the haze we could barely detect on our own. The giant becomes a kind of lantern, then hung out in the dark, lighting up not only itself, but the faint web around it. Its plumes feel their way through the thin matter of the void, and in feeling it, they reveal it to us. The largest galaxy we have found helps us touch the emptiest spaces there are. The very thing that makes it strange, its impossible reach into the open dark, is the very thing that lets it teach us about that dark, and about the faint web woven through it. So even the emptiness is not empty, and even the giant's loneliest reaches are not truly alone. The plumes drift out into the thin haze, and the thin haze drifts through the great voids, and the great voids open between the glowing threads, and the glowing threads weave together into the one great cosmic web that holds the universe in its quiet pattern, everything woven into everything, nothing entirely separate, nothing entirely alone. And now let us widen the frame one last time tonight, gently, softly, the way we have widened it again and again, for there is one more thread to follow, and it leads home. Where, in all this great web, do we live? We have traveled so far out into the dark to find the giant, 3 billion years of light away, woven into a distant thread of the cosmic web, reaching into the faint haze of a distant void. And it is easy to feel, after such a journey, that we are very far from all of this, that the giant belongs to one part of the universe, and we belong to another, and that great gulfs of empty dark lie between us, separating us completely. But that is not quite true, for we are woven into the same web. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, our slow-turning home, does not float alone and apart. It too is part of the cosmic web. It too sits along a thread, gathered together with other galaxies, woven into the same great glowing network that holds Alcyoneus. The same web that holds the giant holds us. The same threads that stretch across the universe stretch, somewhere, to our own quiet corner of it. We are not outside the web, looking in. We are within it. We always have been. And so there is a connection, faint and invisible, but real. The thin web of matter that drifts through the voids near the giant is the same kind of web that drifts through the spaces near us. The great structure that holds Alcyoneus is the same great structure that holds the Milky Way, and within the Milky Way, our own small sun, and around that sun, our own small world, and on that world, in a quiet, dark room, you, resting, breathing slowly, drifting towards sleep, you are woven into the same web as the giant. By invisible threads, across unthinkable distances, you and Alcyoneus are part of the same single structure, the one great cosmic web that holds everything there is. You are not separate from the thing you traveled so far to see. You never were. You share a home with it, the largest home there is, the web that holds the whole universe in its gentle, glowing, endless pattern. Let that be a quiet comfort to you now, as you rest. You did not travel out into something foreign and far away tonight. You traveled out across your own home. The giant is a distant part of the same structure you have always belonged to. The threads that hold it are woven faintly, all the way back to the threads that hold you. You and the giant are not strangers across an empty gulf. You are distant points along the same great web, quietly connected, quietly belonging, woven together into the same vast and patient whole. So rest here, woven in. Rest here, belonging. You are a small bright point along one thread of the cosmic web, just as the giant is a bright point along another, both of you held in the same structure, both of you woven into the same dark, both of you part of the same single, glowing, endless pattern that stretches across all of space. The threads of light, the hollows of dark, the faint web of matter drifting through even the emptiest places. The giant reaching into it, and you, far away, woven into the same web, breathing slowly in the dark. All of it one thing, all of it connected, all of it home. Let the image hold you gently now. The great cosmic web, glowing softly across the universe, with you woven into it, safe and held and belonging. Nothing separate, nothing truly alone. Everything threaded together, across all the vast and patient dark. You belong here, in this web, in this universe, in this quiet dark room, breathing slowly, woven into the same great pattern as the largest galaxy ever found. Rest now, woven in. Rest now, belonging. The web holds the giant, and the web holds you gently, as it always has and always will. And in a little while, we will follow this last thread softly home, all the way back to your own breath, your own body, your own quiet descent into sleep. But for now, simply rest here in the web, held and belonging, and never truly alone. Let us stay a while longer with the giant, here in the quiet web, and think gently about time. For the giant is vast. We have felt that tonight, as much as it can be felt. 100 Milky Ways laid end to end, 16 million years of light from one side to the other. Such a thing seems as though it must be permanent, as though something so enormous must surely last forever, unchanged, unending, fixed in the dark for all time. But it will not, and there is no sorrow in that, only a deep and gentle peace. For even the giant is breathing. We said that earlier. We said its dark heart breathes out 2 great jets of plasma, swelling into vast glowing lobes far beyond the galaxy itself. And a breath, by its nature, does not last forever. A breath is breathed out, and then it comes to rest. So too with the giant. One day, the jets will fall quiet. The dark heart at its center will grow still. The great storm of falling matter will ease and slow and settle. And without the jets to feed them, the vast plumes will slowly begin to fade. The glow will dim. The lobes will soften and thin and gently disperse into the dark, drifting outward across unimaginable spans of time, until at last they are no longer plumes at all, only a faint and scattered haze, indistinguishable from the thin web of matter that fills the voids. The largest galaxy ever found will not always glow so. The giant, too, will one day rest. But do not hear that as loss. Hear it as the slow breathing of the cosmos, for this is simply what the universe does. It breathes, it flares and fades. It reaches out and settles back. Stars are born and burn and dim. Galaxies flare into brightness and then grow quiet. The great plumes reach far out into the dark, and then, in their own time, they soften and return. Nothing is lost in this. It is only breathing, the slow, patient, endless breathing of everything there is. The giant breathed out its great glowing plumes across millions of years, and one day, across millions of years more, it will breathe them gently back in. the reaching and the resting, the flaring and the fading, the breath out and the breath home. This is not the ending of the giant, it is simply its rest. Even giants rest at last. And is that not exactly what you are doing now? Think of your own day gently, the day that has ended. You reached out into it. This morning, the way the giant reaches out into the dark. You spent yourself in it, your energy, your effort, your attention, all of it flung outward into the hours, into the tasks and the people and the small and large things of the day. You fled into the day, the way the giant flares into the dark. And now the day is over, and you are settling back. The reaching is done, the effort is spent, and now, gently, you breathe it all back in. You soften, you dim, you let the brightness of the day fade, and the stillness of the night gather, and you settle into rest, the way the giant will one day settle into rest. There is no loss in your settling either. You are not failing by growing quiet. You are not diminishing by letting the day fade. You are simply breathing, the way everything breathes, out into the day, home into the night, the reaching and the resting. And the rest is not the opposite of the reaching. It is its completion. It is what the reaching was always for. So let yourself rest now, the way the giant will rest, without sorrow, without resistance, simply settling back, gently, into the stillness, after a long day of reaching out into the light. And let us think, softly, of the long spans of time that hold all of this. For we have touched deep time tonight, the billions of years, the ancient light, and such depths of time can feel frightening if we let them. They can make us feel small, fleeting, lost in something far too large for us. A single short life set against billions of years can seem like almost nothing at all. But let us feel it differently tonight. Let the depth of time be not frightening, but holding. Let it be patient. Let it be safe. For the universe is in no hurry. It has all the time there is. The giant reached out across millions of years and will rest across millions more. And the universe waits for all of it, calmly, patiently, without anxiety, without rush. There is no impatience in the cosmos. There is no clock pressing down on it, no deadline, no hurry. There is only the slow, gentle, endless unfolding of time, with room enough for everything, with patience enough for all of it. And you are held within that patience. You with your single short life, your one quiet night. You are not lost in the depths of time. You are held by them, cradled within something so vast and so patient that it has room for you and time for you and no hurry at all. You do not have to keep pace with the billions of years. You only have to rest within them, the way a small thing rests within something large and gentle and enduring. You are small, yes, but small is not the same as insignificant. A child asleep in a vast, quiet house is small, and the child is not lost. The child is held. The house is large precisely so that there is room enough to rest in. The depths of time are vast precisely so that there is room enough for your one small life to unfold, gently, safely, without ever being rushed. So let the billions of years hold you tonight. Let the deep time cradle you. You are small, and you are safe, and you are held within something patient and enduring and kind. And there is one more thread to follow, the gentlest of all, and it weaves you into the same long story as the giant. For you are made of stars. This is not a poem, it is simply true. The matter in your body, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the very atoms that make you, were forged inside stars long ago. Stars that lived and burned and died, scattering their substance back into the dark. And from that scattered substance, new stars formed and new worlds, and at last our world, and at last you, generation after generation of stars, born and burning and gone, each one giving its matter back to the dark when it died, so that new things could be made from it. A long, slow story of stars living and dying across billions of years, and at the end of that story, here you are, made of their gifts, made of their endings, made of the same ancient matter that drifts through the giant and through the web and through everything there is. You and the giant are made of the same story, the same long unfolding of stars born and gone, the same ancient matter, gathered and scattered and gathered again. You are not separate from the cosmos you traveled to see. You are made of it. You are part of its long story, woven into it as deeply as the giant is, by the same stars, across the same billions of years. So when you rest tonight, you rest as a part of the universe resting. When you breathe, the cosmos breathes. When you settle into stillness, something ancient and vast settles with you. You are not a small thing apart from it all. You are the universe, grown quiet, lying still in the dark, made of stars, breathing softly, drifting towards sleep. And that is enough. That is more than enough. Let it hold you now. The giant will rest one day, and so will you tonight. The breath reaches out, and the breath comes home. You are made of stars, old stars, patient stars. You are held by deep time, vast time, gentle time. There is no hurry. There never was. Let the day fade. Let the brightness dim. Let the stillness gather. You are small, and you are safe. You are held. The giant breathes out and breathes home, and so do you, slow and soft, in the dark, made of stars, held by time, at rest. And in a little while, we will follow the last gentle thread all the way home, back to your own breath, your own body, and the soft and final quiet of sleep. But for now, simply rest, made of stars, held by time, breathing softly in the patient dark. And now, slowly, we begin to come home. We have traveled a long way tonight, you and I, further than the mind was ever built to follow. And before we let it all drift away into sleep, let us gather the journey together, gently, one last time, the way you might fold a blanket at the end of a long and quiet day. We began here, in the dark, in this room, with your breath and your heartbeat and the weight of your body settling into stillness. And then we widened the frame, softly, outward, past the ceiling, past the roof, past the thin blue shell of air around the world, out into the great dark that holds everything. We remembered what a galaxy is, an island of light, a slow turning city of suns. We remembered our own home, the Milky Way, so vast that light itself needs 100,000 years to cross it. And we learned that our enormous home is only one island among 2 trillion, scattered across a dark with no edge that we have ever found. And then we went looking for the largest of them all. We found it in an unlikely place, not in the deep dark of space, but here on Earth, in a quiet marsh in the north of the Netherlands, a place of reeds and shallow water and wide pale skies, a place chosen for its silence, where the noise of our restless world grows faint, so that patient antennas could listen to the faintest whispers from across the universe. We remembered the great web of antennas called LOFAR, and the astronomers at the old observatory in Leiden, and the young searcher named Martijn O, combing patiently through an ocean of hidden light. We learned how the sky speaks in more than we can see, how radio light reveals things our eyes can never hold, how a whole population of giants, more than 8,000 of them, was hiding in the data, unseen for all of human history, until someone learned to listen in the right kind of light and then took the time to look. And among those 8,000 giants, one reached further than all the rest. So we gave it a name from the old myths, the name of a giant who once contended with heroes. We called it Alcyoneus. We drew close to it then and found the first quiet surprise, that the galaxy at its heart is ordinary, a calm old oval of red and gold suns, the kind the universe has made countless times, and at its center, an ordinary black hole, 400 million suns of silent dark. And yet, from that ordinary heart, the giant breathes. Two great jets of plasma, flung out into the void, swelling into vast glowing lobes far beyond the galaxy itself, shining in a light no human eye has ever seen. An ordinary heart, an extraordinary breath. And then we tried to feel its size. We held it as best we could. 100 Milky Ways laid end to end, 16 million years of light from one side to the other, a single galaxy larger than the largest we ever knew, and we learned that it is not only vast in space but vast in time, that its light has traveled nearly 3 billion years to reach us, that we see it as it was when our own world was young and forming, when life was barely a whisper in the early seas, an ancient light finishing its long journey here. Tonight, beside you, and at the last, we asked how such a thing could be, and we found a gentle idea that the giant grew so large in part because it lived in an open and quiet place, with room to reach. We saw the great cosmic web, the threads and voids that hold the whole universe in their pattern, and we found Alcyoneus woven into it, one luminous strand among countless strands. And we found too a deeper mystery and a peace within it, that we do not fully understand the giant, and that this is not a failure, but an open door, that the universe keeps reaching past every edge we find forever, and that there is no end to the wonder. That was our journey. That was the long, slow road we traveled together, out into the dark and back again. And now we are home. So let us come fully back, now, into this room, into this body, into this quiet moment, here in the dark. Feel the surface beneath you, the bed, the blanket, whatever holds you. Feel how it carries your weight completely, so that you do not have to hold yourself up at all. You can let go. You can let the whole weight of you sink down into it, fully, softly held. Feel your body in the dark. Notice how heavy your limbs have become. Your arms, resting wherever they rest, grown heavy and still. Your legs sinking gently downward. Your hands soft and quiet. The whole body growing heavier, settling deeper, the way a stone settles slowly to the bottom of a calm and quiet pond. And your breath. Notice how slow it has become, how quiet. You did not have to make it slow. It simply softened on its own, the way breath does when sleep draws near. The slow rise, the slow fall, the quiet space in between. There is nothing for you to do now, nothing to hold, nothing to understand. The breath breathes itself, gently in the dark. Let your face be soft. Let your jaw be loose. Let the small space between your brows grow smooth and still. Let any last trace of the day melt away from you, like warmth spreading slowly through still water. You traveled so far tonight, and now there is nowhere left to go, nothing left to reach for. You are here, in the dark, warm and held and heavy with sleep, and that is exactly where you are meant to be. If you wish, another night, there will be another journey, another quiet road into the dark. There is so much more out there, waiting, patient, in no hurry at all, other giants, other mysteries, other gentle wonders to drift toward on another evening when you are ready. But there is no need to think of that now. It will keep. It will all keep, gently, until you return. Tonight there is only this, only rest. You do not need to remember any of it. The numbers can fade, the names can soften and slip away, the giant can drift back into the dark. None of it needs to stay with you. It has done its quiet work. It carried you here, to this soft and heavy stillness, and now it can let you go. Let it all drift away now. The marsh and the antennas, the ordinary heart and the impossible plumes, the 100 Milky Ways and the ancient light. Let them grow faint and far and dim, like distant stars at the edge of sleep. There is only your breath now, slow and soft. Only the weight of your body sinking gently down. Only the dark, kind and quiet around you. You are a small, warm piece of the universe, made of the same ancient light as the giant, resting now beneath the same endless dark. And the universe holds you, gently, as it always has. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you belong. Let the breath grow slower still. Let the body grow heavier. Let the dark grow soft. Rest now. The giant drifts in the deep, far away and at peace. And so do you. Sleep now. You are held. Good night.